When you're in a business, you often can't see the wood for the trees. But if you've got somebody who can come in externally, listen, help you see where you're going, help really make your North Star clear, and then help you and your teams have the conversations you need to have so that you maybe can start to do things differently, stop doing things that aren't serving you. But it's not about coming in with some kind of secret solution that no one else has thought of.
Emily, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. If I can start by please asking you to introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Emily Monsell-Holden, and I am an independent consultant and I work on brand strategy and cultural alignment. So getting organizations to think a bit more holistically about these different strategies they're bringing in to make sure that it's all aligned. That's what I do.
Cool. Okay, good pitch. So as we were just talking about, I think we've known each other for 15, 16, 17 years. So you've always been in marketing. So obviously
Well,
you're still doing marketing or not so much.
Well, yes and no. I started off in PR. That's when we met. And
Yeah.
well, I did a degree in public relations, and it was really interesting. We did quite a lot of, it was very, very broad and a very strategic course. And we did a year working as well, sandwich degree, they
Okay.
used to call it, might
Okay.
still call it that. And
Yeah.
well, it was really fascinating because we did a lot of psychology, we did do marketing, we also did politics, economics. It was very broad. And then when I left university and got a job in the real world, I realized that PR for most people stood for press relations. And I spent a lot of my time just trying to convince journalists to write about stuff. And whilst they had some good times in PR, I realized after a few years that that wasn't really the thing that I wanted to do. So I moved more into the marketing space through digital marketing, copywriting, content. I ended up more in the brand marketing space of things.
Okay. So how did you end up doing a marketing or PR and marketing degree? What made you think that's the world I want to go into?
I think I misunderstood what the course was. I just got lucky
Okay.
because it was
Okay.
quite interesting. So actually,
Okay.
I wanted to be an actor, and I'd always really harbored that ambition. But the truth is, and I'm
Okay.
not particularly proud of this, when it came to the crunch, I didn't really have the guts to really pursue it. I did audition for drama courses at university. I got places, and I just got cold feet. And I thought, hang on a minute, I don't think a degree is going to get me where I want to go. What I would need to do is just move to London and try and get to drama school. And I guess I just
Okay.
didn't have the bravery to do that. So I convinced myself to do a degree to give myself a backup career, and
Okay.
that backup career became my actual career.
But actually being successful being an actor is really tough. The actual chance of
Mhm.
success is small. And I know you do Amdram stuff. I don't want to downplay it by saying Amdram. Obviously, I've done
It's all
some
right.
research on you, and I see you've done some stuff. So we'll talk about that later. But why the marketing PR though? What did you do? What A levels did you do? Was it directly related or not?
Um, yes, I did A levels. Gosh, that's a long time ago. I did German because I'm half Swiss German. I was good at German. I spoke it anyway. It was a
Okay,
useful thing to pursue.
it's an easy A level. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yes, I suppose it was German drama and media studies. And I guess when I was at school, we didn't really have any IT lessons, but we did have a computer room with these massive, massive computers with the black and green screens. And there was this one program, there probably was only one program on these computers, and it was a career finder. And you put in all of you answered sort of 10, 15 questions, and it spewed out your career. And to be honest, I
Yeah.
think they'd only programmed it with like about 12 different careers in there. I kept getting dog groomer. I was like, no, I don't think that's for me.
Really?
But the careers advice people, I guess they just encouraged me to think about marketing because at the time, if you were a communicator, that was the advice. So I suppose I did that degree to a certain extent quite blind because I just thought, hey, I'm organized, I'm a good communicator, this sounds interesting. And would I do a different degree now with hindsight? Yes, probably. But I got lucky because it was interesting. It did set me up quite well for a real career in the real world.
Okay. So I want to come to the current day. Um, it's quite a brave decision to go out on your own, I think. I tried it before, I did it a couple of years. It was really tough, chasing people for payment, making sure they pay you, all that sort of good stuff, as well as finding customers and prospects. Why did you take that leap into Hollow and Hill?
There's a lot of reasons why I did. Um, so I guess it was the right time for me personally to take a risk. I had been working in house for a long time. I'd been at the company that I was at for a long time. Loved it.
Yeah,
Really great place, really brilliant people, really interesting industry. And I had stayed there for a long time because my job kept changing. I kept being given different responsibilities, more responsibilities, being
yeah,
pushed in a positive way, being challenged. And I guess it just got to the point where I felt that I had probably learnt as much as I was going to learn in that place. I also had some personal reasons for wanting to take a risk. And well, I may as well go into them because I think they're quite an important part of my story. So that's all right. No, I don't mind talking about it. So my husband and I, in the end, weren't able to have children. And it was a really difficult, as you can imagine, a really difficult time for us. And although it was, yeah, extremely challenging, a positive thing that came out of it was I was forced to really think about what I wanted to do with my life. In a way that perhaps I might not have been if things had just progressed as I expected,
of
meet
course.
somebody, get married, have children, have grandchildren, the sort of the normal, perhaps slightly narrow narrative of what life should be like. So when
Yeah,
something goes wrong or when it doesn't play out in the way you expect it to, it's a kind of a jarring moment, to say the least. And for me, it really forced me to consider, well, if I'm not going to be a parent and if my life isn't going to be that shape, then what shape could it be? And what are the risks and opportunities that might be afforded to me that wouldn't have been if I'd had to stay in stable employment and look after children? So I guess it made me think I don't actually want to be working 9 to 5 in house in a stable job, to say, to put it that way, because now
yeah,
I can actually take a risk because I don't have the responsibilities that I might have had if I had children. So it was partly that. It was partly the fact that I'd reached the natural conclusion in my role in that company. And I guess I just wanted a change. I just wanted to do
yeah,
something a bit different. I had learnt a lot working in house, and I knew that I could help other businesses with some of the things that I'd learnt along the way. I wanted more
yeah,
variety, I wanted more independence, the usual stuff, I guess, from that
yeah.
respect.
So that's the true meaning of consulting, though, which I think is an overused, undervalued term, because the idea is that if you've done lots of things elsewhere, you can bring immense value to somebody because you've been there and done it, and you can offer them a shorter, cheaper, better way to get somewhere. So well done on that. But obviously, you spent 8 years at Berry Brothers and Rudd, didn't you? So pretty cool firm to be at. And that is
Amazing.
quite a long time in today's times. That's actually a long time to be within one company. Obviously,
I know.
you
And if
mentioned
you'd said to me
different
I'd have been
roles.
there for that long, I wouldn't have believed you. And actually, it was
Yeah.
longer because I think I joined in 2008 or 9. And then I was there for a couple of years and then I left for a few years. And I ended up coming back or going back
Do you know what?
because
I
it
did
was
see
it
that
was a
on
great
LinkedIn.
place.
I
Yeah.
did see that. Yeah.
Um, but like I say, I just kept having it was an ever-changing company. It's an amazing business. They're really innovative, and for a brand so rooted in heritage and history, it's really exciting to work somewhere where you've got that push and pull.
Yeah.
And in a funny way, the longer you stay somewhere like that, the more valuable you become because you really understand quite a complex business.
Of
But
course.
I knew that there were things, as you say, that I had learnt along the way that could be applied to other businesses. And at first, actually, I did feel a little bit of concern around the fact that most consultants are from quite a different background, really. They maybe have worked in consulting agencies, or they've worked in marketing or brand and marketing agencies on a portfolio of brands. So they've got a big breadth of brands that they can put on their logo wall, but perhaps don't have the depth of expertise. And that's what I felt I could bring, was actually, I know what it's like to be in-house. I know what it's
Yeah.
like to have an agency present the most exciting vision and then get back to your desk and have 6 people telling you that they've got to leave work early, and someone else telling you that they want a pay rise, and someone else telling you that they can't do their job because they haven't got a CRM system. And
Yeah.
all that stuff just clouds your ability to actually make change happen.
Very well put. I just want to say you knocked me for 6, by the way, when you talked about your reason for going on your own. So, excuse
Sorry if I made
the
anybody
shock face.
uncomfortable. Sorry if
No,
I made anyone
no, no, no,
uncomfortable.
no. I don't think so. I think honesty is wonderful, and thank you for that. So you've made the leap. What's your aspirations? What's the plan for you and your business?
Well, honestly, I really feel that ambition can take a lot of different forms. And for me, my ambition is to have a fulfilled and balanced life. And I want my work to be a really rewarding part of my life. I don't any longer see work as the thing that I do until 6 p.m. and then it's my private time. Working for yourself, I don't think you can see it that way. So I guess I want to just continue building something. I want to build something meaningful. I'm really passionate, terrible term, but I really care about the future of business and the future of the world and how the two things can work together. And I really believe that business needs to become a force for good. And the current and traditional models, ways of doing business, what we think of when we say business, is dying. But I do think business has a really important role to play in healing the world and solving the problems that we are currently facing and the future. So that's what I want to be doing. And I'm actually doing quite a lot of investigations into the world of regenerative business and regenerative leadership to really rethink the role that business and leaders within business play in solving some of the challenges that we're facing today.
Wow. Okay. So I wanted to ask you about on your headline talked about Hollow Hill. It says brand and culture and longevity and sustainability. What do you mean by
Mm.
that? Is it similar to what you just said there, or
Well, yeah, it all links together.
yeah,
I from a purely brand and commercial point of view, I don't think it's sustainable the way many businesses work quarter to quarter, or half year to half year, poking their heads
yeah,
up every now and again and trying to chase figures. I understand why it happens, of course I do, but
yeah,
what is happening is they are eroding the equity that they've built in the past, brand equity a lot of the time, but also human capital and goodwill and customer loyalty. It's a very
yeah.
extractive process. It's also extractive often in the sort of true sustainability sense. So it all links together. So longevity for me is about long-term thinking. So how can people in business think about the decisions they make today and the impact they're going to have on the person who does their job next or the future generations? And I guess that thinking has come from working at Berry Brothers and Rudd for a long time, which is a family business and
Yeah.
which has been around for 326 years almost. So
Wow.
it's
Okay.
very much, yes, how do we make money? How do we keep shareholders happy? How do we manage their expectations, though, as well, so that it is about building something that grows stronger as it ages, rather than depleting something and then panicking at the last minute and doing rush sales or discounting or whatever else might have to happen.
That's a real challenge. That's a real mountain you've set yourself there to climb because
I
having
can't
worked in
solve it
sales.
single-handedly, but
No, you
I
can't.
think
So I've worked in, as you know, I worked in sales all my life, and literally, someone said this to me a little while ago. Said, "Paul, you're only 3 months away from being sacked," which is true. As a salesperson, you are, because if you don't, if you have a bad month, oh, that's not good. Have 2 bad months, you're under threat. 3 bad months, you're looking for a new job, which is really tough. So if you're talking to business leaders about, longevity and not thinking about numbers, well, like you said it yourself, shareholders want to know, what their dividends. We want quarterly results and yearly results. So that's I wish you every success, but I think that's going to be really tough, especially for publicly owned companies. Really tough.
Yeah.
So
But
that
just to be
then,
clear,
sorry.
it's not about not thinking about numbers. It's about making sure that you balance your need to make profit with your need to stay in business, because a lot of
Okay.
companies just are working quarter to quarter, quickly, bring it in. And it's not about not making money. It's about making sure that you're still going to be around to make money in 10 years' time.
Okay. So what does your ideal customer profile look like for you? Who's the business who's going to most benefit from your expertise?
I think it's about a mindset more than anything else. So you can't, as a consultant, it's very hard to actually have any impact and help to make change if the leadership are not open minded. And the most success I have is with CEOs and leadership teams who have got the humility to listen and are able to generously input their thoughts, admit when maybe they haven't got it right. It doesn't always happen, you can imagine. There's often a lot of egos, but the most successful initiatives are when people can be clear about the challenges they're facing and perhaps don't feel that they have to be defensive because it's happened on their watch. And actually, that's when collaborative conversations can happen. And the thing is that what I think people don't necessarily understand about consulting, or certainly not the way that I do it, is that I don't have a secret pot over here in my office where I'm pulling things out that no one else knows about. What
Yeah.
I do is I go in and I listen and I connect dots and I see themes and then I reflect things back. And often it's a case of just needing to facilitate certain conversations. And when you're in a business, you often can't see the wood for the trees. But if you've got somebody who can come in externally, listen, help you see where you're going, help really make your North Star clear, and then help you and your teams have the conversations you need to have so that you maybe can start to do things differently, stop doing things that aren't serving you. But it's not about coming in with some kind of secret solution that no one else has thought of. It's actually more of a facilitation job.
Cool. I didn't say much during that because you gave me some excellent sound bites, by the way, there, which I'm probably going to use at the beginning of the interview when I record it,
Okay.
when I produce it. So that's good. So how do you find customers? Because you're in
It's
marketing, right? So it should be really easy for you.
it's not easy. All of my clients have come from word of mouth. So
Okay.
it's all people who I've worked with in the past, either in previous roles or people who know somebody who I've worked with on a consultancy basis. I find LinkedIn is a really great place to stay in touch with people. I used to hate LinkedIn because
Yeah.
when I worked in house, it was a place where when I dared to go there, I just got badgered by everyone. I'd go into my inbox and it would be full of print agencies or business lead development consultants.
Yeah.
I was like, no, no, no. I was just constantly like fighting people off. But one thing I did when I set out by myself was I just sort of culled quite a lot of my LinkedIn noise and
Interesting. Okay.
decided, well, yeah, because I was like, do you know what? I don't even know who this person is. And I can't hand on heart say that I know everybody I'm connected to on LinkedIn now, but it's a place where I go to meet people, to share ideas, to hear what everyone else is talking about. It's also a place where I create content, and
Okay.
I find that is a pretty useful way of engaging with people, because I think if you're connected with the right people and you're creating useful content that's relevant to them, you can't help but be noticed.
Yeah. Interesting, because I think LinkedIn is a necessary evil for all of us that are doing B2B stuff. And unfortunately, nothing you can do about it. But you're quite right. The amount of noise and rubbish that comes into my inbox every day, which is literally just completely. Don't get me wrong. I like to scan it because I like to learn on what messaging works well and good openers and good intros. But majority of them are rubbish. But unfortunately, we have no choice. So, how many typical companies are you working with at any one time?
Between 2 and 3, I would say.
Okay.
It's only me, and I think that's part of, well, it's definitely what I want. I don't really want to be managing people and worrying about bringing in enough business to pay people's mortgage. That's
Yeah.
not something I need in my life. But it's also,
Yeah.
there's only so much brain capacity that I can dedicate at any given time. So yeah, I mean, sometimes it's none, sometimes it's 4 or 5. Obviously, when you work for yourself, there's peaks and troughs of busyness. But I just try to. even though it's hard when you've got no business on the go, it can be hard to motivate yourself and remind yourself that this is just part of the natural flow. I try to enjoy those times. I try to do things in my personal life, and I enjoy creating content, so that doesn't feel like a chore for me.
No. So interesting. You made a comment there about working on your own. So I did this a few years ago. I went out on my own for a couple of years. The problem I had with it, because I was doing channel development, setting up relationship between vendors and distributors, setting up offices for them for the first time, I wasn't scalable because it was just me. That was the problem I had, and I couldn't offload 20 years of experience to somebody else. It was literally all in my head. So one of the questions I had for you earlier when you talked about aspirations for your business was, and I think you've answered it already by, do you want to employ other people? Do you want to grow a business which is, or do you want to, I don't want to call it a lifestyle business because that would be inappropriate, but, or is it an income that supports the life that you want to live, but you working on your own?
Yeah, I
What
mean,
does that
why
look
is it inappropriate to want to have a lifestyle business?
Because it's not trendy, it's not fashionable. Because
I
the
don't
amount
really
of people I
care.
speak, no, that's a good answer, right? That's a good answer.
Uh,
It's just the amount of people I speak to, because obviously I speak to a few private equity and VC funders. And it's like, oh, it's a lifestyle business. He's not interested in growth. He just wants to wear good clothes, drive a fast car. He's not interested in, servicing his customers. Well, actually, if they're happy doing that, then fair enough. You know,
and you know what? It's funny because I it's really interesting to have this conversation because everybody is constantly going on about the need for more balance in their life. But everybody's obsessed with growth and everyone's obsessed with productivity. And don't get me wrong, I understand that these things have become huge symbols of importance and success. But when I left my job, I realized how much this need for productivity had infiltrated my psyche. And I left my job and I basically crashed for 3 weeks because I was just so
okay,
exhausted. Um, and once I kind of came out of the fog, I mean, I barely remember those few weeks. I was like, right, great. Now I can clean my house, list my car for sale, do this thing, go and see my aunt who I haven't seen, blah, 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 blah. And I realized I'm just replacing one form of busyness and productivity with another. And going back to the point about a lifestyle business, I
yeah,
actually think it's extremely ambitious to say, do you know what? I only want to work 3 to 4 days a week, but I want to have a nice life. I want to go on nice holidays. I want to do good in the world. I want to have solid friendships and relationships. And I want to enjoy this life that I've been given, the community that I live in, the people who are in my life. I want to enjoy my work. And I want to have all of those things. I actually think sometimes that sounds like, oh God, this woman wants everything. And I speak to people who are successful and they're also majorly stressed and don't have time to see their families. And I'm not
yeah.
saying I've got the balance right, but I don't, for me, that's not what success looks like. It's not being super rich, but strung out.
That's a good answer. I think I know where that's a measure of. I'm not saying you're old. I'm old. I actually want a little bit more balance in my life nowadays. Because my my body can't take the bashing it gets every day from being up salespeople, getting beaten up by the CEO on the sales numbers and all that sort of good stuff. So I think you're quite right. Right. Let's talk about outside of work. What does Emily do to chill out, to relax?
I just like doing lots of things. I've just got an allotment, so that's the next project on the horizon. As you mentioned,
Okay.
I do amateur drama. That's fun. It's a great way of meeting people. I
Yeah.
do wild swimming. I do a lot of walking. I've got a niece and nephew that I spend a lot of time with. Yeah, I enjoy lots of things about life, and I'm constantly sort of dipping into new things. And yeah, those are the
Cool.
things that make
Right.
me
So,
happy.
couple of things you said there I want to dip into, right? First one's wild swimming. What on earth's that all about? Are you talking about all year round wild swimming or just when the water's warm?
No, all year round. I live in Winchester in Hampshire. It's really beautiful, and we've got chalk
Yeah.
stream rivers. It's an incredibly beautiful place, and I really like getting in the river. I mean, okay, it's actually wild dipping. I don't really swim. It's nothing remotely resembling exercise, but
Okay.
I find it really enlivening to pop into the river. And when it's cold, it is incredible because you can't think about anything else for that moment that you're in the river. You just have to like focus on your physical sensations and breathing. And you see the most incredible things. There's kingfishers, there are deer, beautiful. I mean, there's trout, there's beautiful birds. It's a really special place, and I just really enjoy the connection with nature that I get from popping in the river.
Wow. So you could get the same result with a cold plunge pool or
Oh,
bucket
no,
in your
you
back
can't.
garden.
No, you can't.
Okay. Okay.
I mean,
Same sensei. Yeah. Okay.
I
Okay.
get why people love the plunge pools, and there's definitely something about the cold water that appeals to me. But
Yeah.
having examined it at length, for me, it is the submersion in nature, the total submersion in nature that is the
Yeah.
appealing thing for me.
That's pretty cool. So what about the drama then? Explain to me why I know you just said you meet people and stuff, but you also said you didn't have the courage to take a risk and be an actress in London, move to London, yet you still do it. So
Yeah.
why drama? Why drama?
Well, that's been quite a revelation for me because drama was something that I loved, really loved growing up. And actually, I even as a teenager would help coach younger children in drama and help them go through their exams. And then I went to university and I still did a little bit of drama at the university, but it kind of started to drop by the wayside after
Okay.
I went to uni. And then when I got a job, well, you're just too busy. And you're working full time and in the few hours in the evenings and weekends, you've got a lot of stuff you want to get done. And I guess naturally, sometimes your hobbies from childhood fall away in that period of time. And there were points throughout my career where I thought, it'd be quite cool to get back into drama. But the truth is, it becomes a scarier and scarier prospect the longer you've gone without it. And I had the kind of job, which I suspect most people do, where I couldn't really reliably say I was always going to be in the same place on Tuesday at
Yeah.
7 p.m. I
Okay.
couldn't really sign up to yoga classes, etc., because sometimes I'd have to be in London, sometimes in other places, and often the night before I'd have to make the decision that I had to go there. So being a regular member of a community of any sort was pretty much impossible. And then shortly after I left, I was doing the crossword. There's a little insight into my life, and I saw just in the local newspaper. I just saw a call for auditions for this tiny theatre. It's tiny. It's in an old church in Winchester. I think there's 74 seats. It's small,
Okay.
and I didn't no idea what the play was, but I just got this like thrill of excitement. And I was like, "This is really frightening and scary, but exciting. I'm just going to
Okay.
turn up for the audition." And I did, and it was a rainy, cold February night, dark. And I kind of got there, and there was nobody answering the door. And I thought, oh God, I should be at home in front of the fire with a glass of wine. This is very
Yeah.
scary. But then I saw somebody else go in through the door. So I just kind of snuck in behind them. And yeah, I auditioned. I got a part in a play. It was the most exhilarating thing that I've done in my adult life. It was so exciting and so fun and so all consuming. And it really reminded me of what I loved when I was growing up. And I kind of felt, how have I gone all these years without this thing which makes me feel so happy? And so I think that's quite a clear example
Wow.
of
How long
working
ago
for
was this?
myself and what it's afforded me. That was in February 2022.
Okay.
So
Was
a
that the
couple of
one I
years ago.
saw? I think I saw it online. I can't remember. It was a play that I didn't recognise. So it was.
Or maybe I've done a few since then. I've got the
Oh,
bug.
have you? Oh,
Yeah.
really? Good for you. Good for you. All right. So we've done the hobbies, and the cold water swimming is incredible. I'm impressed with that. Um, what about if you did it all again? Would you change things? Would you have done a PR and marketing degree? Would you have gone and done something else? And let me tell you why I asked this question, because I was in technology, and then I saw the big lights, bright lights, and the big fat paychecks of sales. So I've always chased the dollar my entire life, pretty much. That's what's driven me, and that hasn't always afforded me the best roles. So I've always said to my children when they go through university, do something you love, do something you enjoy. So don't be thinking about the paycheck. And I think so my son's in. He's actually in marketing. So he's a graphic designer. And then my daughter's in cybersecurity as a copywriter. So they're both doing stuff they really enjoy. So that's what asked that question, because if I did my life again, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. I wouldn't. Anyway, but what about you if you did it all again?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear you say that. Um, What about me?
I don't regret any. I don't regret. I have a wonderful life. I have a wonderful family. I've really had a good time. But I think professionally, I probably would have done something different.
Yeah. Well, it's hard, isn't it, with the benefit of hindsight? So I'm not in the
Yeah.
business of regrets because I'm a happy person. I'm happy with where I'm at in my life and all the decisions and circumstances that led to today happened. And I'm cool with that. But I suppose I do sometimes wonder what would have happened if I had moved back to Switzerland as a young adult. I did toy with that for an idea for a while. I toyed with that idea for a while. I wonder what would have happened if I'd gone to London and gone to drama school. I wonder what would have happened if I did a different degree. If I went back and did a degree now, which I'm not going to do, but if I did, I think I would, or if I could speak to myself, I might have encouraged myself to consider something more along the lines of multimedia journalism. I
Okay.
think I would have really enjoyed a career in journalism. And although I know it's been a very rocky time for journalists over the last decade or two,
Yeah.
I think it's also an exciting time with different media. So, podcasting being a really great example, and
Yeah.
all the different streaming services and the opportunities within media and journalism, I think are varied and exciting at the moment. And I think I would have enjoyed
Okay.
that career as well.
So talk to me about your podcast. So obviously, I looked at that. Why do you do it? What's the aim? What's the plan?
I did it because I like to talk to people. I find other people really interesting, and it's a good excuse to have some fab chats. I also did it from a professional point of view because thinking about ways of marketing your own business, I believe you kind of need to play to your strengths a little bit. And I'm not one. I'm not a salesperson. I could probably learn a lot from you. I really, really recoil from the idea of cold calling or cold emailing or closing a deal. Like I need to be better at that stuff, but it doesn't come naturally to me. But I do. I'm not afraid of public speaking. I don't mind putting my voice out there, whether that's in written copy or over audio or even as video. So I kind of decided I'll just play to my strengths. And the podcast was an evolution really because you meet lots of people when you're working for yourself, when you're networking. And I thought I would hate networking, but actually I've just met so many interesting people and had some really interesting conversations. And I suppose it's an extension of wanting to be useful is actually this conversation I've just had with this person would be interesting to a lot of people. So why don't I
Yep.
start recording these conversations? And
Okay.
it gives you more content to write about. It gives, sometimes when you're a consultant, you're just saying the same thing over and over again. So it's quite nice to be able to broaden the pool of your conversation a bit more.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have an excuse to talk to people and maybe people who you haven't met before to ask them if they want to have this conversation and be recorded for a podcast. And I've really
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
The only reason I do it, someone asked me why I do this, and it's because I like chatting to people. I think you make the comment about selling. So great salespeople are not born; they're made, in my opinion. Because I was not a great salesperson. Yes, I love talking to people. That's why I enjoy the job I do. But I think what's really important, especially from consulting or sales leadership or whatever it may be, you get better through relationships, in my opinion. So I spent last week, I was in the Middle East, right? And I speaking to partners and customers. And I learned so much about my business and my products and how we can do better and how we've done so well just by those conversations. If I hadn't gone, I'd be missing out on other stuff here. So it's the relationships and the discussions and the chats are really important to me. And I think that
Yeah.
makes a big difference. Um, what advice would you give to someone that wants a career in marketing and PR? Apart from don't do it. I'm kidding.
Oh, no, I think it's a good career. I think it's an interesting career. It's very hard to say that there's broad advice I'd give because I do think it depends quite a lot on the industry you're in. It's marketing is a broad career. So now anybody can do something in marketing. So I suppose that's the first thing I'd say. You don't have to be a communicator necessarily. You could do a lot of work with data marketing or there's a role for marketing in marketing for any skill set. Find out what you enjoy and what you were saying about your children. Find the thing that you're good at, that makes you excited, and find a role in marketing that fits. Be open-minded. I think that's such an important thing. And I guess if I could give myself a piece of advice, this is not so much about marketing, this is a general piece of advice. I wish that I'd made friends with LinkedIn or networking in general decades ago. I think a lot of people ignore platforms like LinkedIn until they need something from it, and then
Yeah.
they're a bit upset or disappointed that they're not getting what they need. I
Yeah.
wish that I had gone on LinkedIn 5 or 6 years ago and started to attend other events, started to reconnect with people from my professional past or in the network in general, started to put content out there really, so that when the time came for me to look for new opportunities, there was a warm network out there ready and waiting.
Of
Whereas
course.
I ignored LinkedIn until I needed it, and then I've had to do a lot of warming up in the meantime, and it's paying off now. But it doesn't happen in a matter of a couple of weeks. Of course, it
That's
doesn't.
really
It's human
interesting.
beings. Like, these are human
Yeah.
beings. You can't just go into a crowded room and announce you're there and expect people to pay attention. You've got to treat people with respect, and it's got to be a two-way thing. And LinkedIn is no different
Yeah.
to real life, really.
So the advice I give to people who work for me, if I say to them, they want to be a manager, or they want to be they want a promotion, my advice to them is always act like you can do the job already. Do more than you need to do. Go the extra mile, so that when I say congratulations, this person been promoted, everyone says, "Do you know what, that person deserved it." That's the right role for them. Similar to what you said on LinkedIn, where you know you're only going to have success with LinkedIn if you engage with it. And if you don't put engaging content out there, then no one's going to know who you are. So I think it's the algorithms, right? I'm not going to pretend to understand them, but we've been pushing as a business lots and lots of content and posts over the last few weeks, and the reach has been significant. And it's just a big game changer. So, right, I love asking this question. Sliding doors moment. Was there any time in your life or career which completely was pivotal to a certain direction you took? You look
Yes.
back and think, that was a defining moment.
Yes, I mean, I probably could think of a few, but one that immediately jumps to mind is after I left the agency where you and I met, I did a bit of traveling and I came back and I was temping. I was working for Zurich Financial Solutions. I was a short-term project manager for them. And I was having a little coffee break and I picked up Marketing Week. Actually, the story begins before then. It begins when I moved in with my parents after university and was quite bored, to be honest. And so I decided to do a wine tasting course.
Okay.
Who does that at 20? Whatever, I did. And it was in the local secondary school in Reading. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool, that sounds interesting. So I did this wine tasting course. And obviously I was the youngest person by like at least 2 decades. But it was really interesting. It really captured me. And I remember one of the other students said to our teacher, okay, so where's the best place to buy wine? And the teacher said, well, around here, you can go to Majestic or whatever. Of course, the absolute best place to buy wine is Berry Brothers and Rudd. They've got a shop actually in Basingstoke. But they're the best of the best and they're quite expensive. But if you really want something good, you'll get it from Berry Brothers. And
Okay.
I'd never heard of this company, and I wrote Berry Brothers and Rudd in the back of my sketchbook and circled it. I've still got that sketchbook because I was
How
like,
funny is that?
I'm going to work there. This is a place for me. The best of the best, you say. Sign me up. Anyway, I kind of forgot about that conversation. Fast forward 3 or 4 years, and I'm doing this temping job, and I have a coffee break, and I get up Marketing Week, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do? I've got this PR experience, but I'm a bit like meh about where I'm going next. And I look at the job ads, Berry Brothers and Rudd looking for a PR executive, and I was like, oh, well, I've got this wine qualification. I've got PR experience. I live in the area. Okay. And I mean, the
Okay.
rest is history. If I hadn't had a coffee break that day, if I hadn't picked up Marketing Week, if I
The
hadn't flicked to page 47 and whatever,
stars are all in alignment, right? That's one
absolutely.
of those
Yeah.
things.
That job could have passed me by and I would never have known it existed. So, Yeah.
Wow, impressive.
No, I don't
Why
think
did you
so.
why did you call it Hollow and Hill?
Oh, well, that's because Hollow and Hill it's from my two surnames, Monsell and Holden. So Monsell is my maiden name, and Monsell, we try to dig into where it came from, and the
Okay,
best they could do was it was derived from some form of French or Latin, which meant little hill, Montecellus. And
okay.
my married name Holden is Old English for a hollow in a valley. So Hollow, Holden, Hill, Monsell, Hollow and Hill. I had to call it something.
So
I'd kind of always
why
had that in
not?
the back of my mind. I was like, Hollow and Hill's quite cool. And then when I decided to do my own thing, I thought, well, why not Hollow and Hill?
Fair enough. I did wonder why, because it's not related directly to your name, but obviously it is.
Truth is,
Whatever
I
you,
don't end up using it that often because as a consultant, you're the person people are buying. So
of course.
I do all of my networking and my content creation under my name because it's me. There's no team, like I said. It's just me.
Cool. I do have one more question for you. I noticed on your bio TEDx. So you're actually speaking or
Mm.
have spoken at a TED event?
I'm speaking at TEDx in Winchester on the 14th of June this year.
Looking forward to that. What's the topic?
The topic actually is about the role of women without children in society. I am really looking forward to it. I'm also it's a big weight, it's a big responsibility, but it's really exciting and it's it's a really interesting process to go through actually. You know, honing your talk, working they work with you, you have coaching, professional coaching. So, yeah, it's a really exciting thing to be part of.
It's something I've always wanted to do because you know they're being coached because they are the best of the best when it comes to speaking. I'm not putting pressure on you, Emily.
Oh,
But
thanks.
they are very professional presentations. So they always are really really good. So of
They
course I
take it
wish you luck.
seriously. You
You'll
have
be fine.
to yeah, you have to submit your talk quite far in advance. They fact check everything. They give you coaching. You have to learn it, by heart. It's an endeavor.
Wow. How did that come about?
It came about because I have been going to the TEDx in Winchester for the last couple of years. And last year they at the event, they were asking for pitches, ideas for TEDx talks. So I pitched my idea and yeah,
Wow.
got invited to speak.
Well, you'll have to send me. Well, I'll put the link in the on the YouTube video for the TEDx, and also a link to your year on year podcast as well. So I'll do
Oh,
that as
thank
well.
you.
So
Thanks.
I've really enjoyed the conversation. I think variation and it, I I don't want to. I didn't want to have the same conversations with the same people just with different names. That really
Yeah.
makes it interesting. And I do wish you sincere success in everything you do.
Thanks so
I enjoyed
much.
working with you all those years ago. I think you're very brave going on your own. I was very touched by the reason you're doing it, and that's why I wish you every success. And I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Oh, thanks, Paul. Yeah, me too. Thanks for asking me.